Welcome back to Future in Focus, a podcast on wealth and legacy planning. I'm your host, Antoinette M. Solomon. One of the most overlooked truths in wealth building is this: it's not just about how much you make or how much you even grow, it's about what you secure, the assets you protect, the plans you put in place, and the intentional choices you make to ensure that the wealth you've built is actually passed down to future generations. Because wealth without a plan isn't a legacy, it's a liability. My guest is someone who understands this deeply. Michael Corbitt Jr. is a financial advisor with the Stephen Ning Financial Group, where he works with clients to preserve and strategically position their wealth for the long term. With nearly 15 years in financial services, including some time at Wells Fargo, Michael brings practical insight and a deep commitment to helping individuals and families build structures that last. Beyond the numbers, Michael is an active community leader, serving as board treasurer for the Urban League of Essex County Young Professionals and a man of faith who brings purpose into every space he enters. Michael, I'm so honored to have you join us today. So let's get into it, right? You are a financial advisor, you work with clients on all over the wealth spectrum, right? What are some of the top reasons people may lose their wealth? What are you seeing?
Ooh, just a few.
Yeah, let's just be general. We don't want to throw too much at them, but let's hear just a few things that people should be aware of.
So in general, I think people mismanage their money, first and foremost from a lack of discipline.
Okay.
There's a great philosopher named Warren Buffett. I think everybody should know who that man's name is. And one of the principles that he lives by is you don't have to be smarter than everybody else. You have to be more disciplined. And discipline is just knowing what the right decision is versus what's not the right decision. So there's several reasons why people lose their wealth. Just pure negligence is one. Not being able to manage their money from a simple checks and balances standpoint is a huge resource. Overspending, living above your means is ridiculous as far as in our society.
Especially in this country.
In our society, living above your means. But lastly, just knowing what decisions to make. I see people go broke because they're trying to save their children. Put them through school.
Yeah.
Or just bail them out if they're in a bind. That's going to happen. Rescuing the children is a big part of what we teach to our clients, is that's going to happen in life. And in general, there's 6 storms in life that happens. And in those 6 storms, how are you prepared to handle them? It's a lack of preparation and discipline overall is what I see where people lose their wealth.
Okay, that was a strong open, I must say. So we talk a lot about the mindset shift. Like, I opened the season talking about what my mindset shift was from becoming I call it a W-2, employee to being a business owner. So what do you see as the shift for people to really get serious and disciplined about their money?
That's a really good question. The shift that I notice is just internally. For myself and my clientele, I have a clientele of a lot of people who didn't come from a lot of money and didn't come from wealth. A lot of my clients are hardworking people who have spent the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years building the wealth that they have.
Yep.
And it starts there from where you come from, and that self-internal motivation of just wanting more than where you came from. What I've noticed with a lot of people in our generation is we see the level of access that our prior generations didn't have. So I look at my own parents and my own family. I come from a very good family, extremely structured. My parents have been married over 40-something years.
That's amazing.
They provided for me and my brother as much as they possibly can. But just because of the time that they came up in, the lack of information and the lack of resources that they had has been able to be easily transferable to us just from social media. And that is what I've noticed for our generation, where the biggest shift is just the access of information and resources. When I was coming out of high school, I barely knew what a checking account was, let alone what an investment would look like and what it looks like to invest your money in the stock market or life insurance or annuities or all these different things. I barely knew what a debit card was coming out of high school, where today I look at kids who are 12, 13, 14 years old, and they're already invested in the stock market. They're already into cryptocurrency. They're already into those resources. So that's why I think the level of shift is just the internal motivation to want more and see what the world has to offer, but also those resources that we didn't have and even prior generations didn't have that are just so easily accessible just from stroking a couple of keypads on your phone.
You're absolutely right. We all walk around with, computers in our pockets. Google is accessible. All of that is accessible. You can
Everything's
literally
accessible.
just pull it out of your pocket, search something up that you hear on Instagram or TikTok.
Not to mention AI and
Yeah.
artificial intelligence and
Exactly.
the role that is starting to play now, and that just opening up even more doors and making things even easier to have access to tangibly. It's insane. So that's what I would see the major differences are.
That's amazing. So I come to you, right? I'm a new business owner. I've worked. I got a little bit of saved. Maybe I got some 401k money, right? How would you advise me? What's the first step that you would take with a client like me?
I love that question. And the reason I love that question is because a lot of people, when they ask me what I do as a financial advisor, they're quick to just jump to the money and the numbers, right? But the first thing I got to do is I got to develop a relationship with you.
Yeah.
Who is Antoinette? What is she about? What does she want her money to do for her? Because in my firm, we prioritize three things, which is helping you grow, protect, and leverage your wealth.
Amazing.
But in order for me to do that and cultivate anything, I have to get to know you as a person first. And who are you? Are you a risk taker? Are you someone who's extremely afraid of the market? Are you someone who has no knowledge at all whatsoever? You have a plethora of knowledge. The very first thing I'm going to do with any person, in particular you, is I'm going to sit down and get to know you as a person. Before I even get to your money, I'm probably going to have 1 or 2 meetings with you where I just really, really get to know who you are, what's important to you, who your legacy is, or what your legacy is. And from those purposes, then I can determine, you know what? Then we should do this with your retirement money, with your 401k money.
Yep.
We should use this resource for your tangible assets. We should start doing this so that when you come tax time, you're actually saving money on your taxes overall. So those are the kind of things that I look at doing. But first and foremost, it comes from a relationship. My role in my job, there's 300,000 people who do what I do in this country alone. And so what separates you, what differentiates you from those individuals is how you service and you cater to your clients. And it's big on me and my firm where we believe in getting to know people and just knowing those little additives that keep a reminder of this is why they're doing what they're doing. That allows me to then be able to give you an idea of what you should be doing with your money.
So yeah, you're looking at it more holistically as opposed to just being somebody who's like, invest in this product, buy this life insurance, get this, do this, open this IRA account. You're like, all right, what is the long-term goal here?
Exactly.
Let's create a strategy where I am, an integral piece of your growth at every point in your life, right?
Couldn't have said it more perfectly myself. And you use the terminology that we use with our clients, which is holistic. We are holistic advisors. I'm a holistic advisor. I'm not here to tell you to buy Google today, sell and buy Nike tomorrow. No, that's not what I'm about. I'm about literal financial health growth. How are we growing your financial health for the lifetime to pass down to your generation?
Exactly.
Whatever your legacy may be. Your legacy may be the sisters of the poor. You may not have any children. You may want to leave it all to your dog, Susu. Doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you want, that's how we approach financial planning. It's your lifetime. It's your lifespan. It's your legacy. And holistically is the approach. And that's what differentiates me as a financial advisor and my firm. It's big on holistic approach and just literally we're going to work with you from day one. And hopefully we work with your kids and your grandkids. And hopefully I'm on earth long enough to work with your great-great-grandkids.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, I'm like, if you are really trying to build wealth and keep it, right, and pass it down, you need the top 3 professionals, right? You need a financial advisor. You need somebody who understands the market and can advise you on what to do with your money. You need an accountant who understands the tax code, right? Like not just a tax preparer. You need somebody who knows that tax code. And then you need an estate planning attorney, preferably one like myself that does transactions because they need to work together to get you to the place where you want to be. It's not, we can't just work in silos, right? If you're really trying to build that wealth, it takes all of those pieces together.
And to add to that, because I agree 100% that you need those 3 principles, and those 3 principles need to know each other. It's okay for your financial advisor to be in communication with your estate planning attorney. It's cool for your estate planning attorney to know your accountant and vice versa. You have to have that relationship across the board because it just makes it easier. And we're all working for the same purpose, which is making sure our client is prepared for today, but also for tomorrow as well.
Absolutely. You're so right. Oh, my God. All right. So let's talk about how early do you think is too early to even to engage somebody like you?
It's never too early. There are some bigger firms, remain nameless, that have certain minimum requirements.
Yes.
I don't believe in that. My firm doesn't believe in that. And the reason being is that you talk about my faith, and I believe with the faith of a mustard seed, an abundance can come. And I look at people wherever you are, and I'll meet you where you are. and will help to build you up to where you want to be at eventually in the future. Because listen, someone to come in to see me with $5,000 could eventually be 5 million. You never know what'll happen in life. And me being the advisor that decided to take a chance on that person that doesn't have it all or doesn't have a lot of money or a lot of access to be able to help them, it gives me more joy than meeting somebody who has $5 million already offhand. We love those too. Don't get me wrong. We love those too, but it's never too early. It's never too soon. And there's no amount of money that I say that a person should have that can get started. You got to start from somewhere. And when it comes to investing your money and building wealth and trying to really break those generational curses, you got to kind of look at it like a snowflake that turns into a snowball that eventually leads into an avalanche. It's just compounding. You got to just start. Just get started. I think getting started is just half of it. Again, like I said, one of the principles, you don't have to be like smarter than everybody else. You just have to be more disciplined. And that discipline of understanding, I may only be able to save $50 a month right now, but that $50 a month now, 5 years from now, it could be $500. And then $500 10 years from now, it could be 5,000 that I'm saving every single month. You just continue to build on that, and you watch that little snowflake turn into a huge avalanche over time.
You're absolutely right. So now let's bring it back to our communities, because I know you are so passionate about it. Being an HBCU grad, a Black man in, Essex County, you're involved in Urban League. You've got all of these different, spaces that you're in serving our people. One thing that someone said to me one time, and it was so interesting. They told me estate planning is only for the wealthy, right? And it was,
they say the same thing about investing money, too.
Right? Like it was a family member, so it was one of us, and I was like, I'm in this space to really. And I'm doing this to start the conversation. I know we're having it, but we need to be having bigger conversations.
100%.
So, in your practice, how are you changing the conversation around wealth in our community?
Well, first things first is appreciate that guy. She's very gracious in her depiction of who I am, my background. But community activism and just uplifting our community has been in me since the day I was born. I watched my parents do it, my uncles, my aunts. It's a part of my family heirloom. And in that, what I've learned over time is that our people suffer from two things: fear and lack of education. And it's awesome when you can be someone like myself from the inner city, from the community. I've lost friends to street violence. I know plenty of friends who sold drugs. I got many of friends who are in prison right now, spend the majority of their life, if not all of it, behind bars. And coming from that environment, like most of our people may come from, it's awesome to see somebody like me come in and say, I can relate to you. I know where you're at. I know where you're coming from. And how can we help educate you to know that there's something better and there's something different that you can do? One, as a profession, but two, how you can start to grow your own money and wealth. And that's what I lead with. And as I go to the community and I'm speaking at things, giving financial literacy seminars, or in my role as the treasurer for the Urban League of Essex County Young Professionals, whatever it may be, it's just always about going back and breaking those two things. Because the more information you have, the more confident you feel. Right? The more confident you feel, that's where you start to be able to trust. Once you're able to trust and you have the education, then you're able to start building from there. But that's the biggest thing. Fear and lack of education is what holds our people back. And I'm committed, if that's my dying day, is to try to reach as many people as possible to educate them and break that level of fear when it comes to money in general. Because let's think about it. Let's be honest, Antoinette. How many money conversations did you have with your family sitting at the dinner table when you were growing up?
Oh, none. Growing up, none.
None. Me either. Like, I mean,
we had maybe what we gonna eat tomorrow.
What we gonna eat tomorrow? Yeah, it may not be enough here for that particular situation, but me either. I didn't come from that. My family, we talked about a lot of things. I come from a family of love, a family of support, but money wasn't a real serious conversation ever. We talked a lot about sports and entertainment and movies,
we had fun, we laughed, we joked,
but money was never a part of the conversation. And as I learned, and I asked my parents, this was more so lack of education. How can I teach you about something that I don't know about? And vice versa. So that's my biggest impact when it comes to the community, is that wealth is important. Even in the Bible, it says how wealth is important. There's 7 biblical principles of wealth.
Okay.
And in that, God says it's good to have money.
You
but
better
it's good
get
to be
into
a good
it.
shepherd of money. But not just to have money, but to be a good steward and a good shepherd of the money and the wealth that the Lord has given you. And with that, it's important to have it. And our communities need to understand what the power of wealth does in order to advance us as a people and advance yourself individually. So I'm always stand pat on just educating our people and breaking those two things down. Because the amount of fear and miseducation when it comes to money, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. So I'm glad you used the word miseducation, because you're absolutely right. It's usually miseducation or undereducation on these, simple principles. And so now with social media and AI, a lot of those concepts still get, confused and conflated. So let's talk about resources, right? Let's hypothetically speaking, right? I'm somebody who isn't making a ton of money. Maybe I'm, above minimum wage, but still somewhere in the, you know, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 a year range. What resources should I start with? Where should I go to really start my journey in wealth building? Where would you advise me to look at?
So that would have to come from internal and the dedication of, listen, I work my job, but there's something else that I need to be doing. And then from there, you got a budget.
Yeah.
It's hard to create wealth when you don't have a budget to do so. Again, a budget could be $10, it could be $10,000, but you have to set yourself up with a budget and maybe figure out from there. So when I sit down with anybody after we go through the principles of listen, learning who you are, then it's about what's your budget, right? If you have a rent, car note, car insurance, all these different things that you're paying, and at the end of the month, you put food in your mouth, you put gas in your car, you do these things, and you're left with $100. And we gotta back up. We gotta figure something else out here. Maybe you should be cutting back on some of your expenses. Maybe you should be actually actively looking for another job or avenue of income to be able to create that and support that. So that's the first thing, is internally, and then be able to create a budget. And then from there, Google. Literally, you can Google just to start to learn so many things about what a mutual fund is, what an ETF is, what a stock is, what is an annuity, what is life insurance. Just simple Google searches will start to give you general information. What I always tell people is, listen, in life, you either do it yourself or you pay somebody who's really good at it to do it for you. And that's where someone like myself comes into play, because even in today's society, with the amount of access that we have, with the amount of resources out there for people to do things on your own, there's three things in life that we have to know about, right? Health, wealth, and time, right? A lot of us are healthy, and we're starting to get some money now, but the time factor is always very important too. And the amount of time that it takes to learn those resources to then be able to implement them themselves, how do you have the time to do it when you have a career? You got a family, you got kids, you got a significant other, you got all these other things that you're involved in socially that you want to do. That's when a financial professional like myself comes into play to help take some of that off of your load and be able to help you do it.
Okay. Now, you are a financial advisor. You got clients all over making all kinds of money, right? Because you help them. Now, let's talk about you personally, because I know you've got, a bustling real estate portfolio, active Airbnb host. You've got your own sort of projects going on. Let's talk about some of those. What does Michael's world look like in terms of legacy planning, asset building, all of those different things?
So a big key word that I use for a lot of my clients when it comes to wealth building period is diversification. And you have to diversify your investments. You should not be invested in just one particular thing.
Absolutely.
Before we take a step back into that, is what is your investment plan? What are you investing for? Are you investing for income right now? Are you investing for a long-term play where I'm looking for something to appreciate? Are you investing for, you want to make money right now today? There's different reasons and why, but you have to find your why for investing. And what I try to do is I try to tackle all those, right? So in my original real estate portfolio, I own a multifamily home. And I want to continue to buy more of those because that's going to be able to provide me with an immediate income today. I buy a 2 or 3 family home, I have each of them rented out. The tenants will take care of the mortgage, and then on the back end, whatever's left over is in my pocket. That's a way to create income for myself right away. I'm also in the short-term rental business, which is an Airbnb space where we do rental arbitrages through short-term leases that we have with different apartment buildings in the state of New Jersey, and in particular in Essex and Union County. That's another way of creating income for myself right now, right away. But I'm also invested in the stock market, which is more of a long-term play. I don't need that money. I don't anticipate touching that money 40, 50 years from now. I want that to continue to grow to be able to pass down to my children. For me, it's about diversification and making sure that I have as many buckets as possible of money coming in, either short-term or long-term, to be able to accomplish those goals. I have a goal in real estate where I want to get to a point of making $50,000 a month.
Okay.
So every single month I wake up, $50,000 is in my bank account just surely because I woke up and I have these many properties or these many Airbnbs combined that gives me that. That also in my advisory space allows me to just kind of work holistically in that. I'm in a space of working with any and everybody because I create these other avenues of wealth for myself, right? Where there's a lot of financial advisors that are out here just looking for anybody they can grab and not even really trying to learn them because they need to make money themselves from the business. I'm not in that predicament, right? I'm in a space of holistically wanting to help people grow their money because of these other things that I set up. And I love it. Real estate is a love of mine just as much as I love financial advisors, as much as I love sports. anything I get involved in, I'm extremely passionate about it. And real estate has become another passion for me.
That's amazing. So I heard you said diversification, but I heard strategy, right? Like that is the theme in this season.
Oh, strategy.
You have to be strategic in the moves
strategy.
you make.
I can give you the strategy. Listen, I can give you the strategy.
What's the strategy?
And for me, the strategy is about, one, you have to set goals and be intentional about those goals, right? Those goals have to make sense. They have to be achievable, attainable. They have to make sense, right? And so one thing I've always done is I've set myself on a 5-year plan. I started that when I was 25 years old. To be completely frank and honest, I didn't have it all figured out very early in my adult life. I was struggling. I went to a HBCU, but I had to drop out. My grades weren't good enough. My parents couldn't afford to keep me in school. I came home and I was working little odd jobs. I was in the streets doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And by the time I turned 24, I had a real serious conversation with my parents as I was still living with them at that time. And they were ready to kick me out. I was 24, almost 25 years old, and they were ready to put me out of their house. I had become a disappointment to them. I had been someone that they didn't recognize. And I had to look deep down and say, yo, is this what you want for yourself? Not only that you want for yourself, but this is what you want your family to look at you as well. And from that day, I made 5-year plans. I was 25, and I said by the time I'm 30, I would buy my first house. I would be in the career path I wanted to be in. I would drive a nice car. I set these goals up, and by the time I was 30, I had them all. I had everything that I set myself to. So that's the biggest thing, is setting goals. And from those goals, you'll get more strategy and strategic implementation. So when I bought my first house, it's a multi-family dwelling. So I don't really pay a mortgage. My tenants pay the mortgage for me.
Yeah, say it again.
Right? So that allowed me to open up more resources where, hey, look, not only am my mortgage paid for, but I'm making a couple dollars. I saved those dollars, and that's how I was able to get into the Airbnb space, partner with my family. We put our resources together, and we got our first apartment. Now you turn around, we're working on 8. And it's just about that same thing what I told you. It's a snowball effect.
Yep.
You start small, you stay disciplined, you kind of have a horse with blinders approach to what you want to do.
Yep.
And things manifest over time, and you put the work in behind it. So, yes, I agree with that word 100%. Strategy is involved with it.
You gotta be strategic.
Yeah, and now we've gotten to the point of strategy where now we're OPP and we OPM. Other people's property, other people's money. Other people's property, other people's money is where we're at now. So we got tired of using our own money. And now we've built enough capital, we've built enough rapport with the banks that we work with, where now we're furnishing and we're getting our apartments in the Airbnb space off of credit.
Wow.
And that's the next king. So it's just, it starts from an idea, and a mustard seed this small, and you just work at it and you stay disciplined and have a plan, have goals and a strategy behind it. It'll work out.
Yeah, and you couldn't get to that place where you use other people's money without being strategic with your own.
100%.
Yeah, you have to be smart with your own money.
Have to be.
And disciplined, right? Like you said, you got to be disciplined if you want people to trust that you'll use their money in a smart way.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not going to give you money if I know you might go blow it on a vacation.
100%.
But if I know that I see a way you're working and the way you're dealing with your own money, maybe I trust you. And now we both making money.
And we can talk about that, right? Because unfortunately for our people, going to the bank to get lending is not something that's easily attainable.
Yeah.
It's not. It sucks. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality of the world we live in. We're not living in 1965, but it still isn't where it's supposed to be in 2025 either.
Agreed.
And the discipline that we looked at was just, listen, we have to be able to show proof of income. We have to be able to show how profitable this business is. And over time, we've worked our way up to it. It's just, it's not easy, and it's unfortunate, but that's a part of it. And just realizing that, cash is awesome, but the real power is credit in this game.
Oh, absolutely.
The real power is credit.
Absolutely. Now, you have an amazing philosophy that I loved when I read it. Your philosophy is add value and make impact. Where did that come from? And how does it play in your life now?
Honestly, it came from just a place of understanding that at the end of the day, Antoinette, it doesn't matter about how much money you have. Like, I'm in here today with a very nice suit on that costs a pretty penny.
Nicely tailored.
It doesn't matter. I drive a very nice car. I live in a wonderful home. I have a beautiful woman in my life. I have an amazing family. All those possessions and material things, though, don't really matter at the end of the day. Because when it's my time and I got to go see my maker, what's more so going to be important is the value I was able to add to other people's lives and the impact I was able to make in other people's lives in my community. And that's what's just more important. So when I look at that and I think about that, that has to be at the forefront of anything that I do. Because nothing else matters.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
telling
right.
you, nothing else matters
None of
at
it
all. At
matters.
the end of the day, all you're going to be remembered for is how many people you touched, how many lives you changed, how many people's lives you impacted either positively or negatively. And at the end of the day, when you're rested and you're in the ground somewhere or cremated, that's all people are going to talk about is how you impacted their lives and what did you do to make someone else's lives better than yours. Muhammad Ali had a quote that I love where he said pretty much that your service to your community is the rent that you pay for your space here on earth.
Amazing.
And I believe in that wholeheartedly, that God didn't give me what he gave me to keep to myself. He gave it to me to be able to share with others, to uplift others, to build up others, to give back to my community. So in any room that I walk in, that's the biggest thing that I worry about is not how good I look or not how much money I have or the watches I'm wearing or the cars I drive, vacations I can take. That stuff is cool, but whose lives did I impact today? Give a kid someone to look up to that, hey, listen, I don't have to play ball. I don't have to do this. I could be a financial advisor. How am I impacting lives on a day-to-day basis is just paramount to me over anything else.
Oh, that's you just got all the good answers today. Now, we're going to end with one thing that you want to leave people with, right? We talked about a lot. And I hope that people take away the tips that you gave out and really let it sit with them. But if there's one thing that you could leave them with, sort of your impact, right? What would that be?
I didn't think about that one. And that's a really, really good question. If it's something I can leave people with, it's no one cares about your excuses. No one cares about your story. No one cares about your struggles and what you went through and the circumstances that you were raised in. Just get started. Because at the end of the day, that's all it takes is just a desire to get started. Whether you want to be in real estate, whether you want to be a model, it doesn't matter. The goal is to just get started. And once you get started, things find a way to just manifest and work out. And the God that I serve, and I would charge anybody to find someone, to find something that you can acquire to when it comes to that, manifestation is real.
It is. Oof,
Manifestation is real. I pray every day, multiple times a day. I don't start my day without giving God reverence and praise. And with him at the center of my life and my constant manifestation and the desire to just go and get it is where I'm at today. And I don't have it all figured out. I say that every time I have an opportunity to speak somewhere. I don't have it all figured out. I don't have every single answer in the world. But one thing I do have is an undeniable, unwavering faith in God. And I just won't quit. And I'm not going to quit until I reach the goals that I aspire to reach for myself and my family, but also to reach the goals that will allow me to continue to add more value and make more impact in the community of other people's lives as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Michael, as we're in this interview, I'm just like, this man is going to be, we all are, but I'm like, this one going to write books. He going to do something. I'm getting this interview early, okay? Before you start charging people.
Lord.
Michael, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your mission. You've reminded us that building wealth isn't just the beginning, but it's all about the strategy and how we move differently around wealth. And to everyone listening, don't wait for a crisis to get started. Start today. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone you care about. Make it a conversation, subscribe to the show, maybe even leave a review. It helps others find this space. This is Future in Focus, a podcast on wealth and legacy planning where strategy meets legacy. Until next time.